fulcrum and then seem to sort of spin off, so to say, into having other imagery in there and other things. So there's not like this, there's a fulcrum, but there's not a basic shape to them.
What's interesting about that, you're exactly right, Joellen, and this study came out of attending some Jungian Society of Tampa Bay lectures that we talked about Jung. And I mean, how many people have a book written by Carl Jung in their library and they've never read it?
Right.
You know, and I've got Dreams by Carl Jung, and I'm thinking, well, I'd like to read that someday. And so I started attending some of these lectures and talking about the books and reading through them, and then one of the analysts was going to talk about doing mandalas, and I'm like, oh, let me just do them. Don't say no more.
Right.
I don't, because I've already, from my elementary viewpoint of this, I've already done them. It's like, let me do some more, or let's do them. And so I cranked out a series of them, and we were able to look at them. And I think it gave some of the non-artists maybe a little bit of confidence to go ahead and play with it. I tried to, keep it as easy going as possible, that these are just like fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did have some fun looking at them and talking about them and trying to, whether it's analyzing them, there's nothing real deep into them exactly. It takes probably years to be able to Jungianly analyze these kind of mandalas.
Well, and I was wondering, when you say, like, let's make them fun and there's nothing deep,
Mm-hmm.
yet at the same time, if it's a spiritual practice,
right.
those do work hand in hand, or do you need to be doing them for them to become a spiritual practice?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm not clear, sort of what you're...
Right, because it does become deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
start off a little, start off doing it, and then...
try to keep it easy going, but then go ahead and work on it
mm-hmm.
as much. Work through them and work on them and come up with the designs. And the thing is, the question is, I was writing some notes, it's like, when is a piece finished?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big artist question. Anyway,
that's always a piece finished?
Yeah, when is it finished? Yeah, it's like, and so...
when it's due?
Yeah.
when the art show opens?
When the art show opens.
It's done, I guess.
Is the paint wet?
Yeah.
So, they are, and I did that one, there's a series of Blue Moons mandalas
mm-hmm.
that I was real happy with, and I cranked them out like in a
when you say crank them out,
I do.
I know, but I'm saying it's really funny. It's like, it's fine. I just crank them out.
I get in there and I focus, and the phone
right.
can't ring, and I just I'm in another zone.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool, and but these four, they ended up being the seasons: spring,
right.
summer, winter, and fall. I was like, look at these. There's 4 of these that all relate to this blue moon last
mm-hmm.
December. I was looking at 2
right.
full moons in the month, and I was, go online and read about it. I said, that's cool. I'm thinking about that. And I said, let me work on something like that, and have these quick bursts of focus energy and things like that.
So have you then looked back at, because you understand, you've taught color theory and you understand
mm-hmm.
all these things, but then being in a place when you're creating this artwork, have you looked back and sort of seen almost a color vocabulary or a shape vocabulary emerge from these
mm-hmm.
works that you were not aware of, or that you then later became aware of, if you're doing it sort of on that intuitive level?
Right. Trying to analyze them a little bit more.
Not necessarily analyze them. Well,
uh-huh.
perhaps, analyze them, but sort of see, like, I don't think it's necessarily my place to ask you about your spiritual life or, your emotional life, but it just seems that if you're working on something and trying to do it on an intuitive level, then, and sort of make it how you want it, but not sort of dictate, okay, this needs to be a blue one with lots of green in it, but sort of
right.
let it happen. I'm wondering if you've looked when the body was done, how you just said, oh, look, it kind of reflects the seasons. If there were some things that you saw, like messages almost to yourself in them, that like, wow, this red, these shapes keep reappearing in different
right.
ways, and that shape, I wonder, does it mean this, does it mean that?
I love the sunsets and
mm-hmm.
looking at clouds. I mean, it's not like I'm looking at them any differently than I have in the past.
Right.
Maybe I try to think I'm looking at them different, but I've always enjoyed looking
right.
at the
I mean, in the work, not necessarily in the real world, but but in the work, or you can say no, Joel, and that did not happen.
Yeah, no,
okay.
I don't really know how that focus happens, because I was thinking another example of how I respond was watching the space shuttle take off a month ago. I was at Sand Key, and I looked back over downtown Clearwater, and I was, it's early in the morning, and I'm like, okay, here, and it actually was a spectacular launch, unbelievable, and I was like, oh, wow, this is so cool. I'm sitting there just looking out over the water and leaning up there, and I'm looking, and the shuttle goes on up off into the distance of the burning sensation, and then about maybe 5 or 10 minutes later, a long time, I was looking, and the vapor trail was there. It was kind of straight in line where the exhaust had gone. I'm thinking, oh gosh, all that pollution and all this kind of stuff. And then I started noticing it started squiggling, and I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. I go, hey, I got a camera in the car. Maybe I should take a picture. And
oh wow.
And then I go, okay, that's an inspiration for a piece, which I drew. I drew the something, but I drew the study of clouds and kind of the colors before I looked at the picture again.
Right, I see.
So that's
I'm holding up to the mic so the listeners can see it now. Yeah. But wow, that's really cool. Plus, you have I've only been to 2 shuttle launches, but what amazed me so much was in that vapor trail, whether it's the pollution or the heat or the water or whatever it was, but always they're just before dawn, and then catching them, the sunrise catching them.
I know, it was really cool.
Such amazing things. Yeah. Well, so you have a little bit of metal in this. You have about how many pieces are up on the wall?
Maybe 40 or 50.
Wow, that's awesome. And they're all...
And they're groups and groups of clouds. There's groups of moons and groups of mandalas. And then some that have expanded from there. Some of them are like these landscape-looking expansions where it could be a macro level, very small microscopic level, or it could be a macro giant level looking into the outer
space. What the Blue Moon Mandala, before I saw the name of it and I looked at it online, it made me think of looking through a microscope.
Oh, cool.
And then, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then with the lines over it, and I was just like, oh, that's pretty neat. So, well, I want to mention, make sure everybody knows what you're doing and where it is. But at Weeden Island, you can go online, of course, and find this information, and I'll get a phone number for you, too. Mick is going to be there tomorrow at Weeden Island, and his opening reception is from 1 to 3, and it's called Unexpected Visions is the short name for it. But also, if you're going to go out there, they do have, starting that morning from 10 to 11:30, the Pinellas County Extension Services is Going Green 101. What is sustainability and why does it matter? And it's for adults. It's not a kids thing, though the evening or the afternoon thing, mixed things, is kid-friendly. But if you go to the Weeden Island website, they have a ton of information there about things going on. That's just such a jewel in our community.
It is a really relaxing place. You get out there.
I walk out there all the time.
See the environment. I mean, this is what old Florida is about, and it's hot in the summer, and probably a few bugs out there, but the birds singing are really interesting, and it can be quiet out there when the storms come through. The rain, and you just get the smell and everything else that goes on.
And they've got the great paths going over. Yeah. The kayaking. If you want some more information, you can call them. Their number is 727-453-6500, 727-453-6500. Their website is Weeden, WEEDON, Weeden Island Preserve.org. And then, as Mick was saying before, they're open Thursdays through Saturdays from 9 to 4. 9 to 4. The center is open Thursdays through Saturdays from 9 to 4. And then the area, you can walk through there, until dark. I think.
Earlier in the morning or later on in the afternoon. Right. Midday is going to be hot. But the afternoon, sunset, and the fish out there in the water and the kayaking, it's really nice.
Well, fantastic. Well, Mick, thank you so much for coming in and talking about this. And, I'm glad that because I saw you take the picture, the cloud thing, and you're out taking a picture of it. And I was like, that's right. You know what? We should put that in a different place because I feel like it's sort of not in the best place for people to see the artwork. I'm going to start lobbying that to get that out more. Because I see, we always see it during Marathon, but we need to get that out there and see it a little bit better. And then do you have anything coming up after?
Actually, the next weekend I'm going to do a chalk walk at Hyde Park. And I'll be doing a 10-foot square chalk. Well, it's chalk on the sidewalk, but I'm treating it as pastel. Right. They're going to have 48 colors that we can use. It's a different grade.
So what does it mean doing a chalk walk?
What's that?
What does that mean doing a chalk walk? You put on your shoes and you just walk around with it?
They divide up the sidewalks in Hyde Park, and they give any artist that wants to work on the ground, on the sidewalk, they give you a big square, 10-foot square or 5-foot square.
Fantastic.
And you can draw a picture there. And some people, you've seen some of those online pictures of one single dimensional
right,
drawings and things in there.
How do people find out more? If they go to your website, can they find out more about it?
I think so, and it's Chalk Walk of Tampa Bay. I don't know. Tampa Bay. I don't have that information with me.
Okay.
It's on my website.
So if you go to Mick's website, again, that's Mick Knight, MIC, and then KNIGHT.com, and you find out all sorts of things. Stuff about him you never, ever wanted to know.